Welcome to the Well Built Podcast Top 2% Decoded series. Today, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our audience to a longtime friend of mine, Evan Winston, who is the president and CEO of Hercules Fence. Evan, thank you so much for being here, my friend.
You are welcome. 2%. I'm honored.
Yeah, man. No,
I like hearing that.
You guys are, I was just talking to you earlier today in a non-podcast related conversation that, you really are in the conversation where there's really only two hands of contractors, that are like you guys in the country that do what you guys do. And I don't know those guys and I'll never know those guys, Evan. Don't worry.
Right. Yeah.
But
Thank you.
I don't
We
know.
talked about that.
But I do know that you've risen to a level that is really, really impressive. But before we get into the business, let's talk about you. Give the audience some background, some context about Evan Winston.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And obviously we joke a lot, so you'll have to keep me in line today while we're having a conversation. What's my story? So I've been at Hercules. I have a hard time saying this out loud, but it's been 28 years.
Woo!
It's really been an incredible ride. Can't believe how quickly it goes by. And I find myself recently, it's unreal how many new employees I'm talking to or clients or customers. And all I do is talk about like, wow, 25 years ago we did this, or 20 years ago we did that, or 15 years. Like I've really, through these years, it's amazing the experience that come to play now. Sort of like, wow, I've really been doing this a long time and I've learned a ton. And it's great to be able to apply that and keep growing and building the team and growing it within the industry. But in any event, talking about this 28 years, for me, I started through college, came home. My dad was in the building business, small builder, about a dozen homes a year. I enjoyed construction. I liked building things. I thought that would be a cool field to get into. He had a real small business, and his partner happened to retire just as I was coming out of school. Not a great company building houses. Economy was terrible. I learned a ton during that period. I learned how to build houses with very limited resources, managing cash flow, building relationships. And I found, wow, I learned how to build a house. I had a list literally of the 45, 50 steps. It's just how I think. And I would learn the processes and all the different subs. And it was just like, do it again. And again, we were managing cash, and this story ties in greatly to being a contractor to a sub. But I learned how to manage a ton of different subcontractors and a ton of different professional services and engineers and this and that throughout. And then, of course, the clients. So my dad was able to close that business. I was there to help him do it. And I got introduced to the fence business. Okay, do you want to be a commercial fence estimator through a family friend whose family owned a fence company called Hercules Fence, born and raised in the Norfolk area, and they had a small Northern Virginia office in Manassas. And at first I was like, really, fence business, commercial sales? But I love the person who asked me to come and work with him. And so what happened is I went to Manassas and I immediately started to have to learn the fence business, but I enjoyed being a sub. I was very comfortable talking to contractors, and I knew what a good sub was like to me.
Yeah, you understood their world. You knew what they were looking for from you, so you knew how to make them happy.
And the coolest subs that worked for me were my buddies. Became my buddies, became my friends. They understood where I was at. I told them why I needed them to come to this house or pull crews and go to that house. And I was honest with them about what I knew and what I didn't know about construction. And they were very helpful to me. And so I kind of took that ability to talk to general contractors and know how to service them well. Just be honest, be responsive, the whole thing. Sold, did well, kind of picked it up, moved down to Richmond. I opened up an office for Hercules there. I spent a couple of years living in Richmond, came back to Manassas. And that's when some cool stuff happened for me at Hercules. Had an opportunity to move to Maryland, where I'm born and raised, and open up the Maryland division, which is when I got some equity in the company. Fast forward, and I'll tell you more about some of these divisions we've opened. We went from 2 offices, and now we're at 6 locations, and I'm a partner in the business, and it's been a great ride.
Yeah, one of the things that really sticks out, and these episodes are mostly geared in on like what are the top 2% companies doing, but I got to tell you, I have to say, like, one of the top 2% leadership moves, and I see this all the time. There are people that are good friends of mine in the industry that I've been around a lot. There's a common thread amongst a lot of them that in their journey, at some point, they put in the work as an employee of the business. And when I say put in the work, saying things like started an estimating, had success, moved your life to go and open an office for the company. And then you talk about you got equity, but you earned it, obviously, through that kind of behavior. And when, if you're an audience member, you're listening to this and you're like, I want to be an owner someday and I want to grow into that kind of position, ask yourself how hard you're willing to go on behalf of the company. Are you willing to uproot your life and go spend 2 years and open an office, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that you do when you earn your way to that kind of top position. But I digress. Just calling that out, that's top 2% employee behavior that leads to people being at the top in their companies. So that willingness, that grind matters.
No, yeah, I didn't know where this conversation was going to go. It's going to go where we take it. I really appreciate that. And all I can say is I did move down to Richmond. I lived alone for a year. I worked every Saturday. I was there early. I got the crews out. I was there late. And I absolutely loved it. It was a weird thing. I was like in isolation, just me, but I was so into it. And it was just great timing. And I had the interest and the thirst, and it worked.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think you blew your future partner away, right? Where he had to watch you do that and say, dude, I got to make sure this guy's a part of this business forever. And so you earned that.
I guess yes. It worked.
You're like, fine. I concede. Yes. I concede.
I'll take it. I was just you made me think, and I wanted to share what that year was like. I loved it. I didn't do it like, oh, I'm going to get equity in this business. I just was all in. I'm all in with a lot of things, most things that I do. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to take this year and go down there. I kind of needed a break from up here. So I threw myself in it, but we were supposed to lose money in our first year and we did really well. And I was just like, this is fun. I'm building something. There's no Hercules here. And now all of a sudden GCs know us and we're getting on the GC list. It's normal. We're bidding to them. I'm going to their offices and we're just starting to take market share and grow this thing. It was amazing.
That's exactly the story as I imagine it. And I don't know that I actually ever heard that little part. As long as we've known each other, I don't know that I've heard that little detail. But it's a common thread. And so you go from 2 offices to 6 offices, and tell us a little bit about where Hercules Fence is today for context for our audience, the locations that you're in, the lines of business, things like that.
Sure. And I'll lay it out there, and then we might go backwards a little bit to explain some of our divisions and how we operate. But we have 4 locations in Virginia. We have the company was founded in 1955 in Norfolk by an old Navy admiral. He was a Greek guy, and that's where the Hercules comes from. And so he named it Hercules Fence. Very cool. And then the family that I'm now partners with one of the members, they bought the company in the late 80s. So you had this Norfolk office in the late 80s. Opened up a small office in Northern Virginia, Manassas. We now have 2 offices in Virginia, Newport News or Yorktown area, Hampton Roads, and then also Richmond. I've talked about Richmond. That's 4 offices for the Virginia side. And then we opened up Maryland. I mentioned that. That's in 2001. We were in College Park, and we have since relocated for a while now to Jessup. So we're in Jessup, Maryland, split right, between Baltimore and DC. Big location here. This office also houses our high security division, which we'll talk about. And then our 6th location is also in Maryland. And we just bought a new building and moved from Walkersville, Maryland in Frederick County down south to Frederick, Maryland in Frederick County. And that's where our manufacturing division is, Hercules Custom Iron. So that's our 6th location.
It's awesome. So so let's talk about that diversification. So first thing, and I just want to call this out for the audience, is that having geographic diversification helps immensely to weather storms. When one market is hot and another market is cold, it helps to kind of shuffle things around and protects you a bit. So as you think, this is another common thread of the top companies that you're going to run across in the industry. They tend to have a level of geographic diversification that helps them to overcome economic downturns and interesting cycles. So for you guys, you've been able to do that in a relatively tight geographic circle. But as we know, there's a huge difference in the market in Baltimore, the market in DC, the market in Richmond, the market in Eastern Virginia and on the coast. And I'm sure, if you did a deep dive, you could figure out the difference between Yorktown and
Oh,
Norfolk.
yeah.
So it always seems interesting to me how close they are. I know they're two very distinct markets, even down in that region.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you want to dovetail now or later. The diversification, we have such a diverse product line.
Yeah,
We
get into it,
service,
man.
you want me to just jump into that
Yeah,
right now?
let's get into it. So
Well,
so that's
yeah,
market geographic diversification, but you talked about high security and you talked about,
right.
custom manufacturing division, and I know even inside your fence company there's significant diversification. So paint that picture for our listeners.
Yeah, it's amazing. When I tell you it's the sales side in me, and I'll grin from ear to ear, and I'll be so proud of the bandwidth and the wide spectrum of projects we do. And then it's the production operation side that's like, wait a minute, it's so hard to do all these different types of jobs under one roof. And that's with our growing pains. That's what we're working very hard on and doing a great job of being able to do so many things within the company. But yes, we'll do temporary fence at a construction site to the most secure perimeter fence with active vehicle barriers and all sorts of crazy stuff on the high-end federal type work. We'll do residential. We'll do property management type work. We'll do direct business to business, a retail shopping center, a store needs something, a gate repaired, window guards in the back. I'm trying to think of it, but if the word is fence is in it, we do it. And we're servicing all different types of clients. And I can tell you that I will always think of this in the Great Recession in 2008. It was bad. It was bad. I remember thinking, I don't usually have conversations with my partner on Sundays, and we were having them a lot. I can remember the room I was in and pacing and going over things, and it was a tough time, but we're very fortunate. We had a lot. BRAC was going on, the base realignment, and a lot of the military bases in our area were growing. We were just plain and simple fortunate. We had the foresight to go capture this work. Some of it was intentional. Some of it was just like when it became clear what was going on, we were more aggressive to grab that work. But we did have, Fort Meade, Fort Detrick. We had a lot of stuff at NSA. We had Walter Reed opened up in Bethesda. There was a huge project there. And that was really a bridge for us in some tough times, helped us get through that. So yeah, we have it's tough sometimes because the phone can ring and it could be, a general contractor very upset because we're not at a campus project for a 3-letter agency and it's very sensitive. And then the phone can ring and residential customers upset because their phone latch is not working. So we're trying to get the right people in the right places to handle this vast array of services that we offer.
Yeah, and I must admit you do an excellent job, all things considered, how complex that whole system is. But this is really turning into a story. The more I listen to it, it's really turning into a story about diversification as a strategy, geographic diversification, product diversification, and sector diversification. And I'll riff on that for a second, just because it's one of my favorite topics. Is that there are ways to do exactly what you do, but to do that for different sources of income, different sources of money, so that when you're talking about the homeowner, residential sector, to the existing structure, commercial sector, right? The existing retail, outlet, as you've described, or what have you, to any construction site, to all of the things that are going to be built, be it multifamily, be it, office, be it, fill in the blank, data centers, all that type of stuff. And then the government, right? The public sector, and having the ability to swing across all of those geographies, products, and sectors provides you a lot of insulation from extreme downturns. And you just described, how you were able to benefit from that during the base realignment campaign. So talk to us about high security in particular, and then I want to get into iron. So because when I think fence, I get it, perimeter security, fencing, right? I got one I'm looking at right now as I
Right.
look out the window.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I'll tell my story. Anyone that's listening that knows me's probably heard this if we've gone deep and I've told you a little bit about what I love about what I do and how it really started, I would say. But when I got into business, when I talked about when I was offered a commercial sales position, I was like, a fence? I mean, I played tennis. I know there was a fence around that. And it was like, wait a minute. I mean, ballparks, baseball fields, schools, highways, there's fence everywhere. There's fence. If there's a construction project built and there's a set of plans, there's fence on. There's in one way. And now that was like, wow, this is a big industry. And I took to it. And we'll talk about the marketing component to all of this. You know, that's a passion of mine. But let me tell you, when I was in Richmond and I came back to Maryland, and we've already talked about that opportunity I had, and we opened up the office in Maryland. We opened up in August of 2001. September 2001 was 9/11. 1 month after, we doubled down, took a rent out, went after a place that, quite frankly, I looked at and was nervous I wasn't able to fill with people, but was bullish on growing the fence business. The world changed, plain and simple. Perimeter security changed, the world changed, travel changed, attitudes changed, or the political our landscape, politics changed. And so what happened is it took a little while. I mean, I remember working with one of the largest fence manufacturers in the country. They came to my office for my feedback and my collaboration on a crash rated fence.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened is products were developed that were actually certified as crash rated. The government wanted products that you would test. You would engineer them. You'd run a model, put them through a computer. You it's like a car safety test to see how test dummies do. You would test it for the impact and how far that the vehicle would penetrate and what you could stop. So without going too deep into all of that, crash products came out. Certified crash fencings, military bases, airports, government buildings, all started to force protect, put in this perimeter security that was to stop the terrorists. It was anti-terrorism fence, crash fence, vehicular cable, vehicular barrier, all these different words. And then what started to happen, the next thing are the active vehicle barriers.
Right.
So you've got plate barriers that pop up. You've got beams. You've got bollards. If you're listening to this, you know what a bollard is.
That's right. That's
And
right.
if you don't, it's a round cylinder pipe that, is either fixed and stops you from crashing in a vehicle from crashing into it, or it's operable and it goes up and down. So then you started to complement these jobs, and the packages coming out for bid was the full blown perimeter security with all the fence. And then also these active vehicle barriers. And some of the fence was crash rated and some of it was not. If it was in the back of the facility or in the woods, or there was a built in wall or fall off, or you didn't need it. So there are these huge products, and the contractors wanted to award them in one scope. So they were going to either barrier companies and integrators to pick up the fence, or they were going to fence companies to pick up the barriers. So what did we do? We got into barriers. We started doing active vehicle barriers, and we started to do them, and we went all in. And it's funny, sometimes I run before I can even crawl. And so I remember, why don't you guys do gate operators? Why don't you put in the entry gates and put in the gate operators, because it's so in line with your work? And we would say, you know what? That's a headache. That's wires. That's controls. There's a whole nother dynamic to that. You got to coordinate with electricians. We're going to sub that out to gate operator companies, because we don't want to get that call at 3 a.m. that the gate's not working. And you know what happened? We would sub out that work, and then we would get the call at 3 a.m. that the gates aren't working, and we have to call the subcontractor, and it became more work. So we went backwards. We started to get into the active vehicle barriers hardcore. And then we were like, wait a minute, we're doing the active vehicle barrier wiring, and we're setting very complicated structures in the ground and making them go up and down with remote control panels and hydraulic and electric and lights. And it's a whole thing. We could do gate operators. So then HHS was born. We didn't want to be Hercules Fence installing these massive perimeter security projects where we were competing not just against fence companies, against security companies. So we created Hercules High Security. We go by HHS, and the brand has 2 divisions in it. It has our construction, and it has our automated controls. So automated controls will do all of our gate operators, all the access control, anything that has wires and makes a gate open and close, or a barrier. And we've expanded a little bit with access control and the whole thing. We do all that in-house. And then we have the construction division also, which handles super complex products. And then most of those projects have some sort of crash rated force protection scope within them. So it just kind of happened. And I look back and it's like, wow, 9/11 happened. Industry changed, super patriotic. Culturally, this company is so proud to protect. I mean, literally, we protect I mean, we're in Washington, D.C. We protect them, arguably the most important facilities in the entire world. And it's just like, that's never lost on us. And this is not like marketing talk. This is, I always have to remember who I'm talking to, because I'm very active in the ABC, and I'm the incoming president for the American Subcontractor Association. But when I talk to the group of subcontractors and look around the room, it's like, we are the American Subcontractor Association of Washington, D.C. This is a powerful group in a powerful city with a lot of construction, and look at where we work every day. So, that pride in what we do and that pride in protecting. And look, if we're going deep, Chad, ask me my biggest regret in life. I never served in the military.
Hmm.
It just didn't fall within my path
Right.
as an opportunity or the timing. And so it's sort of like, it just next best thing for me is that I can be in that space. I can, especially, I don't do it as much anymore, but when I go on job walks on a military base and I'm going to these cool facilities that are, it's such a high to be able to be there and an honor. And I've seen some very cool places and some very cool things, and it doesn't get old. And I think culturally, it wouldn't surprise you that employees that come here feel the same way. And that's kind of, we can talk growth in employees. I'll let you talk. How many people do you interview that talk more than you? Sorry.
That
I
was
feel like I might be talking too
that
much.
is the idea. I know you're
I
not used
guess.
to me just being quiet and asking questions, but that is what I'm
I make it
supposed
easy
to
for
do.
you.
No, I mean, what an awesome story, man. I've been jotting down notes as you go. I think just, when it comes to what allowed you to open this high security group, certainly market forces. In 2001, the world changes. I certainly remember it. And all of a sudden, perimeter security changes from a deterrent to something that has to work. It's got to be something that has to work, and all of a sudden, there's a hardening of perimeter security, the most important structures and public areas and things like that all start to happen. It's still happening where there are still holes in our security game, right? That you're involved in leveling up. And I've gotten to see those projects over time. Certainly there's that, the market force. And I love the humility to basically just be like, it was September 11th, but clearly it's passion and it's a deep commitment to your mission that has to do with protecting that which matters in our society, which I know runs deep inside you in a very patriotic way. That passion is what caused you to say, we're going to figure out how to. Did you ever do anything electrical or mechanical? Right? Like, what the hell made you think you could do that?
I learned quickly what a hydraulic hose was, and that you had to, if you run it at a 90, it's not going to pump fluid through it properly.
Right.
And you have to, pour concrete and then jackhammer all that out to fix that once, and you don't forget it. But yeah, we dove right in, and we obviously got trained and did the best we could. We've learned a lot, and
but that was passion, and it was will. It wasn't just opportunistic. There was something in there that was driving you to do that, and that's an attachment to mission that really, I think, if you look underneath the surface, why did you do that instead of the myriad other things you could have done? The mission drove you, and for you, that mission is that deep sense of patriotism, which I think is great. And then there's another piece of this where another thing that pulls you into it are killer relationships with general contracting clients that you're able to have open dialogues with, where they're literally like, why don't you do this? Why don't you also get into this? And you could really help us if you got into this, this, and this. And how many subcontractors don't even really interface with their general contracting clients except for the bare minimum between the super and the foreman and the PM and the PM?
Taking a quick break to tell you that if you like what you're hearing and thinking about how to bring market-leading playbooks into your business, I've got 3 pieces of good news for you. 1, we break down every episode with all the plays and takeaways and more in our newsletter. So if you're driving and you want to write some of this stuff down or forward it to your team, make sure to subscribe and get all this good stuff straight to your inbox. 2, we wrote an entire book on this stuff. It's jam-packed with playbooks from 100 plus market-leading contractors with a deep dive on the 6 systems that separate the top 2% of contractors from the rest of the industry. And 3, you don't have to go at this alone. At Well Built, we help contractors install these systems every day. Our consultants are construction pros with executive level experience at subs, GCs, and service contractors who know this stuff like the back of their hand. So check out the show notes for the links to the newsletter, the book, and our website. Now, back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Right? Like that, being able to talk clearly, you're talking executive to executive in those conversations, and they're telling you where the money is. They're telling you where the opportunity lies because they're telling you where their needs are. And you're listening, and there's the customer service aspect, which I know is another deep part of your mission, that causes you to say, guys, we got to get into this. Our customers need us there.
Well, it's funny you say, as you tell me that with the general contractors, I can't help but think, you know, we were a fence company, and we still are a fence company. And we always used to joke on our GC jobs. We have dumpster enclosures, we have some gate hinges, and there's obviously fence associated with these projects. A lot of them weren't small. But when we start with the security, we move to some critical path. We move to a lot of coordination, and I've watched it happen. We've gone from fence company to bona fide subcontractor. And I say that because the mentality is we're a sub to general contractors. We're a partner with general contractors. We're not just a fence company. And there's a mind shift there. Does that make sense?
100%.
When I say that to you?
100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole different rule book. And I think that evolution of me being the little bit of time I was a general contractor or a builder and running subs, it just, as it evolved and we got bigger, it just became that much more paramount. Relationships, responsiveness, doing what you say. It's kind of like easy stuff because all you have to do is put yourself in the other person's shoes.
Yeah, but somehow the stakes are higher. Right?
Yeah.
And it drives it home. You know, you got to live it or you can't be a part of that game.
Right.
There aren't a lot that are a part of the game that you're in. And I think that is a key differentiator for sure for you guys. So we've got the Hercules High Security. That's an awesome story. I know we're in for another doozy when I ask you about Hercules Custom Iron.
Hercules Custom Iron. So similar to the gate operators I talked about, we were subbing out companies. Generally speaking, we were all the different fence products that we do when there's railings. With welded railings, we were subcontracting that out to welding companies, railing companies. It's a different skill set. You're going out, you're field detailing, and you're measuring, and you're coming back, and you're actually building, and you're painting or coating or what have you. Versus more of the kind of mechanically fastened fence products come in, huge yard, lots of material, lots of field crews, big material expense, small labor expense. Versus the opposite in the fabrication, lower material costs, higher shop labor because you have shop labor to build, and then the labor to put it in. It's another podcast we could do where we were going to acquire a company, and it did not work out. And I have a whole wild learning experiences about trying to go and have an acquisition. And that has helped me with a lot of other experiences that I've had. But we ended up unsuccessfully trying to buy a company, but we said we're going to just start our own, and we created Hercules Custom Iron, HCI, and we had the head salesperson company that we were going to buy came with us, and we just went all in, and we felt like we had to work that for Hercules.
Yeah, I mean, you were subbing it to somebody, so you were like, hey, we know the need is there.
What I didn't know is what that upfront cost would be. And that
it's probably like a machine, just like one machine. Don't worry about it.
It's like, we'll start a business, we'll get a place, we'll start doing railings, and we'll just hire some people, and it'll just happen. That business has took a while to really get off the ground, and it's evolved a ton. And it's been an amazing journey there with a couple different team players that have come in and leaders that we brought in. And now where we were and where we are now is a 50,000 square foot facility in the heart of Frederick, Maryland. It's the old Flying Dog brewery building that we purchased a couple years ago and renovated it. And it's just awesome. We keep getting equipment. And when I say we started in railing, so this is where you probably want to talk about the having versatility and doing different things. We have just gone all over the place. The fabrication we do, it could be our shield panels, which are anti-climb temporary panels that we weld and fabricate and powder coat at our shop. It could be a rooftop aluminum canopy at a multifamily building, or it could be a solid, one of a kind embassy fence around the so many different countries we've built the embassy fences for, the Chinese embassy, the German embassy, the French embassy. We did work at the Italy. We've done some of the coolest one of a kind projects. You need a fabrication facility to do that. You need fabricators, we say fabricators, and not just welders. You need a team, you need CAD draftsmen, you need the whole thing. So we've grown up, we've evolved, and the business can service the Hercules world. And that's the most fun. When you have a project, I'll give you an example. You have a federal building downtown and there's a bunch of fence in the back and on a wall. That's cool. That's the fence. Or you have your bio pit fence and you got your trees and you put the little fences around that. That takes care of the fence. Then you've got bollards. You've got force protection all around it. You can't have cars crash into it. It's a federal building. We've all seen them around DC. Hercules HHS will design, procure, set, pour all the structural bollards, and then Hercules Custom Iron will make all the stainless steel decorative sleeves. We can make sleeves that have lights in them. We can powder coat them. We can make bike racks. We've been looking at one in my office. I've got a sample. We've got a bollard with 2 hoops on the side because that would be used to chain bike racks to it. So we literally are doing the entire envelope with our fence company, our security company, and the iron company. And everyone works together. And now that's not easy. That's a challenge. That's another podcast, how to have, divisions within all get along. But we work so hard at that, and our culture and how we roll. Those are fun projects. And the other thing I'll say, everyone's got each other's back. Probably gonna be shocked when you hear this, but there's been times when we've ordered fence panels and we forgot to order brackets. Yeah. It's happened. Or this happens even more. We lose the brackets. Like, it's amazing. You order 5,000 and you end up, with only 2,000. Our HCI can very quickly machine the parts and code them. And it's a phone call, and it's just cool because everyone shares the same, can't fail, won't fail, shit happens. You told me I could curse. And you just fix your mistake. You just, I always say you killed King Kong as a baby. I heard a motivational speaker say that. Killed King Kong as a baby. You see a problem, squash it. That problem's going to fester. So that's sort of like something I say a lot to the team. And when I think about an issue like that, we have the ability to squash it, and we do. And that kind of takes everyone being all in, all hands on deck, doing anything and rolling up your sleeves. That's how we roll. But also having these other divisions to help each other and having the resources. Sometimes we might have one office. Richmond might be having a really tough time on the job. Boom, crews are down there from Maryland. It doesn't matter. Or we need to, you know what I mean? So just culturally, that's what we do with the different divisions. It helps tremendously. And I wish that the bracket example I gave you was not fresh from the top of my mind from a couple weeks ago.
Look, top 2% companies are not perfect. They're just right. They're just more perfect than their counterparts. They make fewer mistakes, and it's really about how they react and respond to mistakes, which is, I think, one of the things that I quote you a lot, Evan, with our clients, where there's something that I am a huge believer that you have preached to your team with me in the room multiple times, is the 6 most powerful words in the English language. I'm sorry, yes. I made a mistake.
I admit,
right? Yeah, I admit I made a mistake. Yeah, that's it.
I admit I made a mistake. It's the greatest. It applies to just about everything in life, to me.
Yeah. So we got mission, and we've got culture, and we've got passion, and we've got, obviously this drive. There's a hunger to conquer, new things, and just to hear you talk like a little kid about the sites that you get to go on and how cool that still is for you and all those types of things. I mean, it's no wonder to me, that you on the trajectory that you're on. Tell me a little bit. So here we are. It's 2026. Roughly how many people do you have? Roughly what's the revenue range?
It's a big number for us, and it's really on the people. I can't really believe this, but we're over 300, which is pretty awesome. We're continuing to grow. We're really trying to continue to build our labor force in-house. We use some subcontractors. We're predominantly in-house, and we're, our growth there is, that's humbling for me just to say we're over 300 people. Revenue, we're north of 100 million. That's a pretty massive, amazing, incredible, humbling number to hear as well.
That is, and for your average project size for what you guys do, that is a ton of work, right? That's a ton of work. To be over $100 million in this type of work is rare air. It's an absolute ton of work, and I can see how uncomfortable I'm making you. So I'm going to change the subject.
Yeah, I don't want to talk. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. No, it's wonderful. I think it's, you should be very proud. And also, I know you do feel very humbled by where you are. I've known you for a long time. You were a long way away from that when we met. So,
You helped us recraft our mission statement. We really, a long time ago, it helped with direction. And you have this whole weird thing about actually writing down your goals, writing down your mission, and not just like charging hard and getting every job and conquering, which I might have done. But yeah, no, I remember we put down numbers and we hit them and then some. And I will say for all the contractors out there, material prices have escalated. So that's brought our revenue up. So
that's really what it is.
There's a little more there. No, we've grown. It's been fun and it is amazing. I will say I am dangerous if a new estimator is like, hey, can you do me a favor? What would you, or a contractor, do me a favor, we're building a warehouse. What is a plug? Because I still get calls all the time. I know people, they're calling me. Right? Like, hey, what's a good number for 8-foot interior chain link fence? Just go 100 feet with a gate. What should I go in with? I'm like, I'm scared to tell you. I still talk about, I could tell you it's $40 a foot and it's 90. Numbers have changed and I haven't been estimating as much. So like my headspace is different, but in any event.
Awesome. All right.
Appreciate that.
So now it's all a part of the story, right? And it needs to be said. So from one of the things that, in addition to your work on focusing on your goals and establishing, action plans and actually following through and all those things that have helped you to be successful, there's no question about it. One of the things that I think is also been a massive differentiator for your business is the way that you market, the way that you brand. So, so many subcontractors just frankly spend $0 on advertising. And I know, and I'll say for the audience that like the residential business, it's great business. You like, but it's a tiny, tiny piece of what you do. You're not doing your marketing to like dramatically increase your homeowner business, which is, what I think a more traditional, contractor, if they're going to do marketing, it's to get homeowners. You're not marketing for homeowners. You're marketing for Hercules as a brand. Tell me just sort of your philosophy on that and some of the things that you guys have done from a marketing standpoint that maybe break the mold a little bit.
Got it. Couple things. You can see most of you are probably listening and not watching. I know I would be walking the dog listening to these things, but there's a sign behind me. The business was so unique that this trade hangs signs on the fence. It's like industry-wide accepted that you leave a mark, you tattoo your product for anyone, all to see for the life of the fence, which in some cases is the life of humans.
Yeah, drywallers don't get to leave a stamp on the wall, right?
Exactly. So I loved that. I loved seeing this Hercules Fence sign. I love when someone would say, hey, I saw your sign somewhere. You guys did that fence over at the whatever. I did have a goal in my mind that when I was in Richmond, that I want to come back to this area, to Maryland, and even when I was in Richmond. And if anyone said, can you name 2 fence companies? I didn't care if we were number 2. I just wanted to be one of 2. Name 2 fence companies. Hercules is one of them. And so with that, it was hang signs, hang signs, hang signs. There would be a repair job and the crew would be like, no, we didn't hang the sign. It was terrible looking. There were vines. You hang a sign on every job you touch, period. That's it. That's the rule. And that has been a huge part of the brand. So I'm like, all right, people, it was a Yellow Pages. I mean, for those of you that remember the Yellow Pages, that's that 28 years of doing this. I'm dating myself. I mean, when we moved to Maryland, we got a double truck ad. That's 2 pages when you opened it up in Fence. That was like what you did to say we're in this business. And it was both commercial and residential. But really, as things have changed and the websites and all SEO and online advertising, the brand. Need a fence, think of a fence company, Google it, search it, call it, the whole thing. So we've hanging signs is number one. Number two is our advertising and marketing. We've done a little bit of everything. And I do want to make it clear, just for those that are listening, we do residential in every office. We do far more residential down in the southern offices in Virginia. And we have an estimator or two in each of the offices up in Maryland, Northern Virginia area, just to service the calls that come in, friends and family. And we do get a bunch of residential work. But like you said, Chad, we're not chasing that. We're not going after that. We're heavy, primarily commercial, industrial, government, that sort of thing. So with that, it's brand. We want our general contractors to know us. We want employees to see this is a cool company to work for. This is not, wow, open your eyes, Fence. Well, let me go to Hercules Fence. Let me go to their website. Wow, it's 75 people at the Capitol doing this crazy fence project that had to happen over a weekend, and it's the greatest shot of our team in front of it. And that picture on our website doesn't say this. That had representation from every single office at Hercules. We needed 75 people mobilized within like 24 hours that were badged that could work at that
Is this
site.
January 6th?
Yeah, it was. It was after that. We put all this razor ribbon on the fence. It was all around it, 20-some thousand feet. I'm on the phone on a Saturday with the owner of the supplier company.
I've seen Hercules Fence on more than one documentary.
Yes, we had our safety. You wouldn't be surprised. We have our name on all of our safety vests, and that was again. It was very cool to be a part of that and see. That's what we do. Bad things happen, and we get called. But I try and look at it that someone's getting called to protect. Again, it's better when it's not something horrible, but whatever. That's the world that we're in.
There's this very core, and I even kind of, Evan, want to call it like basic, but maybe the better word is like essential nature of your marketing approach that I've always noted. Of course, yes, signs on fences, but it is really the brand is everywhere, right? And you take up a lot of eyeball space with the Hercules Fence brand. I cannot think of a subcontractor that has Hercules Fence on the dasher boards at the Capitals arena.
Right.
Well,
I'm also crazy. I'm crazy.
That's not untrue. Yeah,
and
that's
I'm a Washingtonian, ridiculous sports fan. If you told me that we would have a hockey board ad, I would have just said that's the craziest thing in the world. That's never going to happen. That's ridiculous. What's happened is we do spend a lot in advertising. We spent a lot in advertising, and I was looking at it. We're more action oriented. We're a trade show. We're going to a construction networking function. We're going to a general contractor's office to have lunch or to do a lunch and learn, or that's our business. So print advertising, we've done a little bit of that. It doesn't do anything for us. And so what's happened with some of the sports advertising is it's brand, and it's cool, and it's fun. And we do a lot of entertaining. And when you're at the stadium or you're at an arena and you see the official partner and you see, the Maryland coach, our big, huge public university, state school, University of Maryland, which has a ton of engineering students, a ton of construction students that go out in the market, and you see our name on Lox's headset, coach. Honestly, it's like the little kid in me comes out. It's awesome, but it's real. And it's fun to brand and build the name.
No, and it works.
That's kind of what's happened. It's been a little opportunistic. There's been an interesting time in this. There's a lot of new construction going on and with all these facilities, and it's just kind of come together where all of a sudden we did kind of double down and look at our marketing budget, look at our advertising, and think this is where it's most effective. Let's go after the brand and the name and keep doing what we're doing with our active marketing, with going door to door and just being out there and doing awesome things to be present in the construction community and keep doing a good job. You don't do a good job, you're not going to get a call back. But part of our mission is, and this because you helped us write it, our job is to have our customers want to use us on the next job. Simple. If you work with us, we want you to call us back and say, we definitely use you because you guys did a great job, or you did an okay job. We'd never have a problem with you. You just did your job. I'm happy with that. You don't get a lot of thank yous in this business.
No, not nearly enough. Not nearly enough.
Yeah. When you get a thank you, it's unbelievable.
You save those emails. You frame them.
Yeah.
You do.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Last question for you, man. What do we have to expect from Hercules in the future? Where are you trying to take this thing? And maybe correlated to that, like what are sort of your big priorities in the business? Because yeah, as much as we focus on, extremely high performing contractors, the folks that are really doing something different, special, better than the market, delivering superior value, profits, and excellence, that's what we're all about. We also know that you're not perfect, right? You have challenges. And I think it's important to, for the audience who's striving to replicate your story, to also recognize that the problem's never, they're just new problems. They're just new and different problems. So what's next for Hercules? What's the next mountain you're trying to climb?
What's the next mountain? Look, all the data centers are out there, utility work. We're trying to be smart. We talked about that diversity at the beginning. We're always trying to look around. I mean, we're in Northern Virginia, for God's sake, doing data centers. We did one of the first data centers that we know of, 15 years ago, or whatever it was. So we want to keep growing. We want to grow in the area. We want to continue to build a name. We want to grow nationally. Our HHS automated division, we've got service techs and preventive maintenance. We want all assets, gate operators, active vehicle barriers, and we want to do that nationally. We're picking up a bunch of contracts and looking at that, and also the data centers and utility and airports, and we want to continue to grow that business. So that's great. Dominate this region, continue to do great things. That there's so much work here. There's so many out-of-state people that come in to work here, and we have stadiums and highways and tons of cool stuff in this area, DC metro area. We work with you, obviously. Like, we invest in the top 2%, Chad, of consulting companies. I feel strongly what the consulting companies we use need to be good ones. We're trying to get perfect. We're trying to get as good as we can be. I have been successful. I can say that, even though it's hard for me to say stuff like that, in building the business, getting work, and building a brand. And it's been awesome. Think when you talk about on the horizon, continue the growth, the passion, the next generation's coming in. You need to have passion here. You need to be a part of our culture. That's not easy. Hiring people, getting the right people in this team. We're working very hard on that. We're doing an incredible job. So I want to continue growing, grow the right way, go more national, and invest heavily in our operations. How do we scale this? So what I was going to say is I was good at building business. Now it's time to continue to build, bring in the right people to help do that. For me personally, take a little bit of a step back. Might be hard, but put the right people in place and put the right goals in place to build something that's scalable, better scalable than what we have now, more automated, better procedures, obviously AI, everything that's happening right now. How can you do things faster, better, more efficient, and have, what is a very stressful business less stressful? One thing about the business I always say, if you're thinking about your trade and what calls you get, whether you're an electrician or plumber, there's a leak, there's this, there's that, the roof, it's always sky falling, hair on fire, issues. We're first on the job and then we're last. And when notice to proceed comes in, we got to be there the next day and we got to get it done or the job can't start. And when we're getting a use and occupancy, we got to get the retaining wall up or the pool fence done, or we got to get this done. We're always at the end. So it's interesting. First and last, stressful scope, a lot of different scope. We come in at the beginning of the job, at the middle of the job, at the end of the job. And, we just are building the infrastructure, be as solid as it can be to keep doing what we're doing and see where we go.
Yeah, that's my takeaway. You've got an incredible brand and set of relationships and capabilities, brains inside your business and experience and portfolio and all those different types of things that you have to leverage. And I love hearing you say it. Now I got you on record saying it, is that the priority is to master the infrastructure to scale. And, I think you've always been a figure it out guy and you've always been a figure it out company, and you've done an outstanding job along those lines to capitalize on what's ahead. It sounds like the priority needs to be operational excellence.
Operational excellence. There's one thing before we wrap. I just want, construction.
You're going to complain about me, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to complain about it. No, I'm thinking about this in my journey and my story. I just want to recognize when we're talking about doing all of this, talk about like me and my ideas and stuff. And you and I have talked, and we could do a whole conversation about partnership and my partners and bringing in the right people. I mean, I'm fortunate. I've had a partner from the very beginning. He saw me do good things in Richmond and partnered. So, Jay, if you listen to this, Jay Klebanoff down in Virginia Beach, his brother-in-law is who got me involved in the business, and he and I have had the most incredible partnership. And he's kind of let me be crazy and do my thing, and then he's kind of been there as a rock, and we've just balanced each other out, and had such an awesome run. And what I'm equally proud of is sort of like my growth now, bringing in some other folks, the Corey Swickles, Adam McFadden, and all these other different people that are coming into my orbit at a much higher level and a partnership level. And it takes this to grow. And I have had my mind has opened through the years. It's sort of like we can't grow if we don't have operational excellence. We can't grow. We don't have the right people that are just completely aligned with great communication and a shared vision. And that doesn't just like fall into place. That
Yeah.
takes intention and work. I just wanted to give a shout out to those folks and mainly Jay. And, it's a huge part of, it's a huge source of pride.
Well, you should, give the recognition there. I completely agree with you. Jay's an amazing guy, and he gave you the shot, right, to do what you have done with the company, and it is a really exciting thing to observe as you give other people their shot to be a partner in the company. So you're right, man, dude. We could have another 20 minutes
Right.
on the value of partners and things along those lines. Maybe we do that someday. But when you know you've got the extra mile guys,
That's right.
the all in, and they bring something special to the business. One of the things that's been a part of your culture is we make those people partners. We find a way to partner, and Jay did it with you, and you continue that legacy, which is pretty cool. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Didn't know what to expect with this, but thanks for having me. It was fun. Always
It
great
was
to chat.
a lot of fun talking with you, Evan. Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right. Thank you.
Talk to you soon, buddy.
That's good.
That's another market leader showing you exactly how they drive top 2% performance and profits. If this was useful, subscribe to the Well Built podcast so you don't miss the next one. New episodes drop regularly, and if you want more tactics and the playbooks like these ones on paper, subscribe to our newsletter or get your copy of the Big Book of Market Leadership in the show notes. And if you're listening to these stories and thinking, I need someone to help me build this in my company, that's what we do. Well Built works with contractors to put these systems in place. We get in the weeds with you. The link's in the show notes. Thanks for listening. Go build something.